Fun fact, do you know that only 6.2% of my viewers actually are subscribed to me? That's a really small percentage, and I just want to put that out there. I'm just gonna say it. Diary of a Wimpy Kid Wrecking Ball is the worst diary in the series. If this book gets an award by adults from some actual association, I will be very concerned about our standard for literature. I really looked forward to this book for an entire year, and this book will devalue the series by a lot. I know a lot of you are probably younger than me, and you might say that I wouldn't know because I'm not in the age demographic for reading these books. Or you might say I'm a Wimpy Kid hater, which is definitely not true because I wrote a 237-page fan fiction parody of Diary of a Wimpy Kid and made a video documenting Jeff Kinney's life. So no, I'm not a hater. You might say I'm trying to get easy views, which I never use the loophole. I truly believe this book is horrible, so I'm here to point out this travesty of a book. Just caution because there will be spoilers to watch out for. Wrecking Ball is basically the heaviest fiasco in Home Improvement. I posted reminders that the book was coming out, and I even made my own parody trailer. I had great high hopes. First off, this is not even relevant anymore. Basically, the Wimpy Kid series is to, and I quote, the travails and challenges of adolescence. And I'm pretty sure this has never happened to you. Another argument you might say against me is that Diary of a Wimpy Kid is supposed to be exaggerated humor, but the point of this series is to exaggerate humorous situations you go through middle school, like puberty or homework. Most of the time I was thinking, what? That doesn't make any sense. Let's start from the beginning. A lot of these experiences is Greg learning a fact and thinking of an imaginary scenario, like the first page, or the 90th page. You don't usually see these thoughts in the first diary, and you might think it's not that big of a deal, but it's not actual humor, it's a mild illustration joke. The problem here is that Greg is a middle schooler. Middle schoolers can imagine, but sorry, this makes him look like he is a scared 5-year-old who is afraid of plumbing. Today, Dad said he was going to teach me how to snake a drain, which doesn't sound like fun to me. And when I found out it was a plumbing thing, I got scared. I've had a fear of plumbing ever since I was a little kid. It's all because I overheard Mom talking to Dad outside my bedroom just after we moved in. The ground in this bathroom is really nasty. End scene. And a middle schooler who is afraid of a plumbing monster. He also thinks that grass looks like weeds, which is like, what? I don't understand why grass isn't considered a weed, because it sure looks like one to me. I also don't appreciate how Mr. Kinney was making Greg as a naive, dumb individual. You know, children are dumb. Like, they can think decently and usually won't just fall for anything that seems plausible, which usually toddlers think like that. Also, there's a lot of the same ideas from the do-it-yourself books, like MASH, Greg's Imaginary Mansion, and later on, Hadley's Miss Great Aunt Reba's Funeral, which doesn't make any sense why they would accompany that in the story. It's not funny, it was pointless. And then later, Greg gets scared of a glob of hair from the shower drain, which is just plain weird. The story was like a puzzle that looked solvable but did not have the right shapes. I know I can't just be negative, so I think the illustrations are absolutely detailed and much better than the drawings in my parody book. I just also want to say that the introduction wasn't that bad compared to books 10 to 13, but that's it. But it wasn't it. But that's it for the good parts. Here's where Home Improvement starts to get really bad and not just personal selections. This is because my family has been doing home improvements for a year ago to now, so I know how the process works. First, Greg Heffley is allowed to go on a ladder with no support up to the second floor. That is absolutely dangerous and it's not something that is relatable or makes sense for a middle schooler. Next, when Greg gets stuck on the roof, he tries to get help. So he claims that nobody can hear him. And what happened next is that he throws a sledge at Mr. Larcosta's lawnmower, which doesn't make any sense because Greg should have waited rather than to be impatient. And also in the picture, you can see the high roof connects to the lower roof, which Greg can just get down. So when Greg hits the lawnmower, he hides because he doesn't want to be seen. But wait, wasn't the purpose to get help? Even if Mr. Larcosta saw him and reported it to Greg's parents, at least now they know he's on the roof. Sure, Greg would get in trouble, but at least this misunderstanding wouldn't have happened. Mom in the shower. Next, somehow the butt crack joke was a bit dirty, but I won't hate on that much. A few pages later, Greg sees a construction worker going to the bathroom and staying in there. So he pulls a smoke detector alarm. I mean, like, even little kids won't be this stupid. And when a line formed for the downstairs bathroom, the biggest guy on the construction crew headed upstairs to find another toilet. And that guy was carrying a magazine, so I got the feeling he wasn't heading up there to go number one. I wanted to try and stop him, so I pressed the test button on the smoke alarm to set it off. re, 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 re. And we know Greg isn't dumb. He's actually clever in trolling Rally and getting past barriers. Another example is when Greg wants to hand a meatball sub to Luther, but the meatballs fall into the wet concrete. That's okay because it's a humorous thing with a mistake. But then Greg stuffs the entire sandwich into the concrete. At least throw it into the bushes or something. Now you're going to have a sandwich mold in your walls. So meanwhile, the neighbors complain how their construction is damaging their lives, but that should be an indication that their company, the Heavley's hired, isn't the greatest. Oh yeah, there's a picture of Greg dunking Rogic, which is pretty sweet. Next, when they were pouring concrete for the driveway, they didn't even put tape to indicate it. You need to put at least a barrier. And this is why this happened. This is not a legitimate company, and they would have been sued a long time ago. And then there's a fire. This is quite relatable because my family once had a fire in our backyard, but what is not is why did Greg put the chips in the oven that started the fire? And if you want to keep it away from mice, just make sure to seal bags tight and put it in a high cabinet in your kitchen. This book makes Greg seem like Rogic in the long haul.
I got us a microwave pizza.
That's a mini safe.
And they disguised it as a microwave.
When they accidentally built the kitchen too large and overtook Mrs. Tuttle's yard, they destroyed the whole thing. I get how this book is trying to be humorous and funny, but these situations, they're just making mistakes and not learning from anything. And they're just like, okay, let's move on. Nothing big happened here. And they're just wasting money. They don't talk about how money needs to be spent wisely. You know you can just redesign it, right? And plus, you're supposed to survey the land before you start building. And somehow Manny can create a mini house, which I don't know why that's supposed to be funny. And also, this book took up 4 months. Back then, it was usually a fourth of a school year, so about 2 months. And even further back in the book, it was an entire year. You might be wondering why I would tell you this, but the months weren't feeling natural. They felt like they were being rushed in order to make sense with the plot. Plus, there was so little of Greg at school. I mean, that pretty much defeats the purpose of the series. One remarkable moment was when Greg brought some old jokes from the past, which I applaud. I also appreciate the new house that Greg was supposed to move to until the ending. It was amazing, but why were Roger and Mandy already in their swimsuits? And I also want to sprinkle in some of the reading of why they are moving. During the middle of a test, some kid let the stress lizard out of its case, and it's really hard to concentrate when there's a reptile on the loose. Scream! So I guess this means the school is going to lose its funding, and Mom's not happy about it. In fact, she's so upset she's saying that we should move so we can live in a better school district. Well, if your school is losing funding, why don't you check out my parody book? Okay, I won't do that. That is selfish. For the open house, why did Greg or someone else in the family not supervise their house? I mean, these dads are literally wasting their money on snacks and television subscriptions. And one of them opens the laundry room for snacks. How intrusive do you have to be? And then they run away because grown men are scared of a clattering sound. I appreciate the Greg and Riley moment because it was a pretty somber moment, but then how did Mandy even build a house? Before we get to the ending, this is also a very non-reasonable part of the story where Greg is trying to tell Becky that he likes her, even though I thought Greg likes Holly. So here it is. I realized that next year I won't be going to school with these kids, and that's what gave me the courage to finally tell Becky Anton that I liked her. So during biology, I told Becky I had a crush on her ever since 5th grade. But Becky went straight to the teacher, and 5 minutes later, I had a new lab partner. I spent a lot of time making an awesome card for this girl named Natasha, who I kind of liked. I'm not the only one who's trying to impress Holly Hills either. I think just about every boy in my class has a crush on her, and I've been trying to make a good impression on her this year. But I can see a real opportunity here for me. Laurel is in my grade, and she's better looking than most of the girls in my class, so this dinner could really change my fortunes. Greg, make up your mind, seriously. Anyways, the ending is the most atrocious finish to a book I've ever seen. Usually it ends with a climax, a falling resolution, and a concluding ending. So basically the moving truck guys tell the Healthies that they're moving today so they can sell their house to the buyers and move their stuff to their new house. The mom realizes that they haven't packed everything and start tossing everything as fast as possible. And the movers are flipping dishes and crashing them. I was just wondering, how could the workers not see any wrong into this, and couldn't they just move the date back themselves? And then this crane guy is like, I'm gonna move your hot tub over your house without your parents knowing, even though I could just totally disassemble the hot tub, like how did the hot tub got in the backyard in the first place? Sorry, I got a little bit mad there. Then Greg doesn't even tell his parents and just lets him do it. And this next part doesn't make sense. Well, a lot of it hasn't made any logical reasoning. Don't get me wrong, I love jokes and they make me laugh, but a joke is only good when it makes sense. Or else you're just confused. This dude lifts the hot tub with a single hook. How is that even legal? You know, you can strap multiple restraints to make it more balanced. Next, the Whirly Street Kid that comes along and starts dumping the furniture into his truck. And Greg waves at the guy to stop him. Like, if someone was stealing your turkey sandwich, for example, you just wave at him to stop him? That doesn't make any sense. If I was in a situation, I would A, yell, but it might cause the crane guy to do his thing. B, run up to the Whirly Street Kid and sell this ourselves, not wave. So then this causes an unlikely chain reaction where the crane guy crashes the couch. So now based on the image, this 2-seat couch is probably 220 pounds because the 3-seat one is 350 pounds. And the small mobile crane is 20,000 pounds. Bumping into a sofa would not even phase it a bit. It's like throwing 26 super soft Mission flour tortillas at 5 miles per hour at an average US male, 197 pounds, walking 5 miles towards it. Sure, the guys are going to feel the tortillas, but it won't throw it off course like the crane did. So somehow the crane gets unstable, and just as everyone predicted at the beginning of the book, now it whacked bricks off the chimney. Now, I don't want to be geeking off with statistics again, but I just want to say that the hot tub is swinging and not falling, and a brick wall is a lot harder than you think. And this book is supposed to be realistic fiction, by the way. The wasps that have been hiding in the entire book have come out and already know that the crane guy did this. So they somehow get into his compartment, which I don't know how they did, and the crane guy is probably waving his arms and hits the lever somehow. How does a hook like this release the hot tub? He could have just turned off the machine. Chain reactions are kind of funny, I guess, but when many of the things that don't make sense add up, it's just stupidity. Long haul pages 114 to 122. So, hip hip hooray, you've got 4 big holes on your ceiling. Roof, second floor, first floor, basement ceiling. And it's not like you can just patch it up with wood or a mold or something. It's likely this hot tub messed up lighting, crushed furniture, also crushed electrical lines, which should have caused an actual fire, destroyed waterways. I'm sure you guys are like, dude, it's a fiction book, chill out. But just think about how rubbish these events are. I'm exaggerating a lot, but just to get the point across. You're going to have to pay a lot of money, and I mean probably more than $100,000.
And that's a great price.
And I didn't even add up, they had to pay the damages to their neighbors and the big hole in their side of the house. And what pisses me off is the ending. It could have ended on a good note, but because you had to follow the 217-page rule, Greg's like, I still need to teach rally and never be late for an old lady's funeral. Ha 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 ha. So funny. LOL.
That's right, another read-along. There's probably a lesson I could learn from this whole experience, like be happy with what you've got, or there's no place like home, or that sort of thing. But that's the corny stuff they put in books for little kids. And this comes from the person who's afraid of a plumbing monster.
That was a bad ending, and at least say like, we used the rest of the inheritance to pay off the damages, and we got back to where we started. So I guess we didn't get anywhere for the last 4 months, except now that I know that just put your inheritance in a bank account. Okay, that wasn't that funny, but it makes sense. I still despise how they act like nothing was wrong, so now the school is losing funding. Wait a second, this leads to my book. My parody book. Jeff Kinney, don't make a book similar to my parody books. What Wrecking Ball fails to teach us is that to learn from your mistakes, first you have to admit that you do have one. And that's what this Diary of Wimpy Kid book needs to teach us, but they don't. This Wrecking Ball book doesn't demonstrate the value of money. They act like if you make a mistake, you can just undo it and not pay the consequences. I know it isn't really that interesting and proper for a kid's book, but boy, the Havleys have to sue the construction company. Emotional damages, property damage, and fiscal money damages. The next book better be called The Havleys Appeal. Okay, that was a joke. For being serious, I understand that Jeff Kinney doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. And he doesn't plan to be. But if you keep stretching the series, it isn't going to get better. Do what Dave Pilkey did. He ended his Captain Underpants book at 12 because he didn't want to keep repeating the same plot. And then he started a new series called Dogman and he even got more successful. Stop trying to force weak plots onto your readers. You're going to have to end a book soon at some point, and I would recommend it of Greg graduating middle school. And then continue your series in Riley's point of view. So in conclusion, this book, 2.5 out of 10 stars. The drawings are getting better, and there are some heartfelt moments, but this is just a jumble of mess like a kid's bedroom. Many events don't make any logical sense, the humor is a cheap satire, Greg is pretty sociopathic or manifesto for the extremes, which is what makes the Wimpy Kid books funny. But Greg is so naive in believing things at age in this book, which doesn't make any sense for his traits. This book falls short of his outshining success. I'm not a hater. If I actually was, I wouldn't be liking Wimpy Kid posts and making full-off parody books. I'm actually probably in the top 100 fans of Wimpy Kid. The online book, the first one, is even older than me, made in 2004, which tells how much the Wimpy Kid series has changed. So Jeff Kinney, I don't see much of a future for the Wimpy Kid series. I'm sorry because that was my childhood, so please wrap the series up. And now that the next book takes place in the summer, don't make another vacation disaster book.
I got us a microwave pizza.